Howdy Kiddos, welcome back to another Playdate. My name is AOK and I'll be your host today. Today we take a look at Wolfenstein: The Old Blood. I'm here to answer the tough questions such as, is this game any fun? Is it worth your hard-earned allowance? And finally, is this backstory to Wolfenstein: The New Order worth experiencing? Well, all that and mucho más on this edition of AOK Playdate. New to my videos is the non-gamer disclaimer located at the bottom of your screen. These captions will help people better understand what the hell I'm babbling about. If you already speak the language provided in these videos, then I am truly surprised, as most people don't understand what the hell I'm talking about in my normal everyday conversations. However, those who don't, hopefully this will fill in some of the gaps for you. Please consider it a poor man's Rosetta Stone. Wolfenstein is one of those special game franchises from my childhood. I played the original Wolfenstein 3D in the early 90s over at my cousin's place on his computer through MS-DOS load prompts. If you remember loading games from a floppy disk drive through command prompts on a DOS PC, then you know how old this game franchise is. There were many other games around this time such as Doom, Duke Nukem, Heretic, and Descent, and every single one of these titles had the same sort of gameplay, but they were new and innovative and were integral to the first-person shooter genre and what it would become. But enough about the past, let's stick to the present. Well, sort of. You can't mention Wolfenstein: The Old Blood without mentioning Wolfenstein: The New Order. The New Order was a game that was released a year ago and followed the exploits of William J. Blazkowicz. Some would call him a patriot and a humanitarian, while others would call him a psychotic Nazi killer and question to why the United States gave this man a gun in the first place. Regardless of your take, The New Order followed Blazkowicz through an alternate reality where the Nazis actually won World War II while he was in a vegetative state. After awakening from that vegetative state, he sets off to kill the man who put him in that state, General Deathshead, and in turn deal a crippling blow to the Nazis. Why tell you about a game that was released a year ago? Well, Wolfenstein: The Old Blood is a prequel to The New Order, set just before Blazkowicz's battle with General Deathshead. It is a standalone prequel, which is a great thing because you can play this 6 to 8 hour single player campaign and never play The New Order. However, this is the first thing the game struggles with, which is to make sure there is an audience who cares about the prequel story and to how Blazkowicz comes to hunt down General Deathshead, as well as the story being worth telling in the first place. It sadly fails on both counts. Imagine if someone gave you Star Wars Episode 3 Revenge of the Sith after you had just seen Star Wars Episode 4 A New Hope and told you, you gotta watch this movie, it's how Darth Vader becomes Darth Vader. Personally, I want to know what happens after the events of A New Hope, not right before. Why go backwards when the first one left so much intrigue at the end? You can't tell a great story then stop telling it when it gets good just to go tell another story that happened right before it. Maybe if you're Christopher Nolan, you could pull off this magic act, but for me, let's just focus on one thing before we head into another, shall we? I never remembered hearing a public outcry for the story to be told after the events of The New Order in the first place. The story that they tell in this game is great, through the first half, but then it becomes a muddled mess in its final chapters and ends on a whimper instead of a battle cry worthy of Mr. Blazkowicz. Chapters 1 through 4 deal with you infiltrating Castle Wolfenstein to steal intel from Nazi archaeologist Helga von Schabs on the whereabouts of General Deathshead. You and your friend are captured and imprisoned by Helga's right-hand man, Rudy Jaeger. So now you have to save your friend, complete your mission, and get the hell out of Dodge, or Germany. This game does something the game should never do, and that's make the secondary villain better than the primary. We'll start with Rudy. Rudy is that maniac German you'd see in a James Bond movie. He has pet dogs that have been bionically enhanced, to which he feeds them prisoners of Castle Wolfenstein. He loves his dogs, with his prized albino robo-shepherd Greta following him around everywhere. From the moment you meet Rudy, you know the two of you are going to have a throwdown, and it's going to be the highlight of the game. Helga, on the other hand, is a middle-aged polio survivor with a prosthetic leg. What she lacks in strength, you would assume she would make up for in smarts, right? Wrong. The game does a lousy job of showing us why this woman should be feared by anyone she meets. You would think that the archaeologist side of her would just be a facade, and that underneath she would have some gripping backstory to make her the twisted monster that she has become and work for the Nazis in the first place. We don't even get half of that. Just the fact that when she was young, she cried when her leg deteriorated. She becomes a caricature, and a poor one at that. The writers try to make her character more interesting, but she basically boils down to a person who has a love for wine and a burning desire to uncover ancient powers that she thinks she can control. There are a few notes and letters scattered about that you can read to fill in some more of her backstory, but just go back to my Resident Evil Revelations 2 Playdate to see what I think about reading important details instead of experiencing them. That's what the second half of this game boils down to, basically, shooting Nazi zombies and uncovering why the Nazis are turning into said zombies in the first place. Also, you're left wondering why Blazkowicz never turned into a zombie. Or Helga, for that matter. Because Machine Games said so, that's why, so you'll take it and you'll like it. Helga takes my Debbie Downer this time, no doubts about it. The story also introduces two other characters that help you travel to the town where Helga is located. One is a leader of the local resistance named Kessler, and the other is his Jewish assistant, Annette. Kessler has been hiding Annette from the Nazis for years. There is some intriguing backstory with Annette, her parents, and her lifelong struggle to get away from the Nazi oppression. They also go into explaining that Annette needs to find her lover when the shit hits the fan, to make sure that she is okay. But then, that's it. In the later chapters, you come across a scenario where you can go one way and save Kessler, or go another way and save Annette. However, the game did a terrible job letting me know I even had an option in the first place, so the first direction I went, that's the person I saved. I didn't even know I had the option to save one or the other until I stumbled across the tidbit online the next day, but at the same time, I didn't feel the need to go back and save Kessler in a second playthrough of the chapter. Sorry, Kessler, no backstory means you're a red shirt cast member. There's also a character they introduced to you that had a crazy run-in with Blazkowicz at that one party, that one place at that one time. Whew, it was crazy. But with the codename of Agent 2, well, yeah, it's spoiled before I can even get to the damn thing. I felt some emotion with helping Annette escape to go find her significant other, and I felt some emotion when I had to go across the street and give Kessler the bad news. But other than that, this game's story didn't give me the feels that the New Order gave me. True, we are dealing with an expansion-sized story compared to the full story of the New Order, but outside of the somber music and the great voice actors, I really felt that my only mission was to kill Nazis, and later Nazi zombies. I also thought it was annoying that Machine Games just went with the zombie soldier trope at the end. I could see them saying, well, it worked for Call of Duty, why don't we give it a go here? For such inspired content that the New Order gave us, to deliver such a lackluster prequel story this go-around is a shame. Usually for a prequel to work, you need to incorporate elements into the prequel to help the target audience connect with the story, to gather the same euphoria that made the first game so great to them. In this game, the amount of characters that are mentioned from the New Order and then introduced in the Old Blood comes up to 1. Blazkowicz. General Death's Head is only mentioned by name a few times, and Fergus does make an appearance in the ending cutscene, but this is Blazkowicz's story. When you don't give him compelling characters to drive his story forward, that's when everything comes crumbling down. However, introducing so many characters in the second half of a story doesn't do those characters justice either, and makes me not care whether they live or die. I was invested in the fight between Rudy and Blazkowicz. From the very beginning and after I succeeded, I had only heard of Helga by name and didn't really feel the desire to go fight her. In fact, I thought the game was going to roll to credits right after the Rudy fight. If it would have, it almost would have been a better game in my opinion. But the second half dragged my overall score pretty far down. The best character they introduced in the second half of the game was this guy.
Mein Freund! Mein großzügiger Nazi-hassender halbnackte Ehre!
But what do we do when the story is done? What is this game's replayability like? Well, there's only one thing that made me want to go back and play the other chapters, and I'm talking about the Wolfenstein 3D Nightmares. In this game's story, there are 9 chapters, and in each chapter there is a secret area you uncover that has a mattress you can click on. You will know which mattress I'm referring to when you see a picture of the old Wolfenstein 3D game art on the wall nearby. Upon clicking on the mattress, you are taken into a nightmare. This nightmare takes you back to a corresponding level of the old Wolfenstein 3D game. The nightmare renders the graphics to look like the old 92-DOS game, with the exception of your hands and gun, as well as food, ammo, and treasure. The size of the old assets is jarring when comparing them to the new ones that the team put in. The hallways also feel like they go on forever, as you feel you should be moving much faster in a full sprint than you actually are. It feels like they're slowing you down for some reason. It is cool though to see the characters' 2D models move with you as you view them from different angles. I kind of wish they would have just let us play the old game and not mix new techniques in with old techniques. You can go to the game's website and play the first 3 levels of Wolfenstein 3D for free though, which is fun, even though you can't play the game in full screen mode. Other than that, there are an assortment of collectibles in each of the levels, such as letters, gold piles, and perks. The gold piles lead to nothing more than achievement scores, and the letters fill out some backstory if they're all collected. The perks, however, are unlocked as you complete certain tasks. For example, there is one perk that allows you to increase your ability to reload your weapon by mashing the reload button multiple times instead of just pressing it once. This perk is unlocked by killing 20 enemies with the last bullet of your ammunition clip. There are 16 perks in total that can each be unlocked by completing these tasks. Some other perks include increased maximum armor, increased maximum life, and an increased ammunition amount on certain weapons. You also have challenge modes to keep the game going. These challenges are missions that pit you against a leaderboard. I tried to load the leaderboard to see where I ranked, and this is what I got. Okay, we'll come back to that. These challenges are levels of the game that allow you to kill enemies and beat the clock. They also score other aspects of your challenge run with the way you dispatch your foes, via headshots, explosions, etc. They give you rewards that equate to point values that you can compare on the completely functional and awesome leaderboard. Fine, I'll just assume I'm first. Yep, that's where we're going with today. Suck it, losers. Since I'm in such a good mood, being first in the world and all, I'm going to give big ups this time to Wolfenstein's fast-paced, frenetic action. Not since the days of Unreal Tournament and Quake do you get the same unbelievably insane rush that you get with Wolfenstein. Whether your method of Nazi destruction revolves around stealth kills, body dismemberment, or straight-up fuck-yo-life bullet barrage, this game holds no punches and encourages you to exact revenge on the Nazis, even though most of us weren't even alive during the damn time period. This game is graphic, mindless shoot-'em-up fun that evokes a strange sense of patriotism. The creators of this game asked one of life's simplest questions: who are the most hated group of individuals in the world? As they sort through their options, one name continuously comes up: Hitler and the Nazis! Then the Big Cheese asks his writers, but can we make a game completely based around killing Nazis? Then one writer boldly stands up, wearing a Don't Tread on Me t-shirt, and takes a sip from his American flag coffee mug. Fuck yeah, we can. So was the creation of Wolfenstein 3D. Or something like that. There's a certain serenity to wielding two massive shotguns and blowing your enemies away with an explosion of guts and gore. Also, the game's protagonist, BJ Blazkowicz, is a textbook American alpha male, and you can't help but root for him in his journey.
You need to answer my question without hesitation. So, who is your contact in the village?
Claus.
Who is this Claus?
Santa Claus.
Just imagine a mix of John Rambo and Lieutenant Aldo Rain.
We ain't in the prisoner taking business. We in the killing Nazi business. And cousin, businesses are booming.
Sadly though, as our game comes to an end, so does our playdate. So what did we learn today? Let's recap. On the upside, we have the first half of the game, Rudy Yeager, the nightmare levels, with the big ups coming from the sheer anarchy that is Wolfenstein. On the downside, however, we have the second half of the game, a huge void of replayability, promising side characters that went nowhere, with codename Debbie Downer being played by Helga von Schaubs. In the end, was this game fun? Yeah, it was a very entertaining 8 hours of my life. $20 fun? This game is intended for the difficulty increase fanatics. With no compelling reason to continue playing this game after your first playthrough, the only thing you can do is different difficulty levels, and the same content is played over and over again. With Wolfenstein: The New Order, Machine Games chose to focus on the single player and skip the multiplayer altogether. It was controversial at the time. Some lauded it for going against the norm of many FPS games to include a half-baked multiplayer into a great single-player experience, or to reverse those aspects and focus on the multiplayer instead of the single-player storyline. Either way, after you beat the old blood, you're left with a game that won't fetch you diddly at GameStop or eBay. In America, the content is digital only, so I would recommend waiting for an online sale on Steam, the PlayStation Store, or through Xbox Live. I can't imagine this price point sticking at $20 for too long. Was it worth my hard-earned allowance? If it would have carried a $10 to $15 price tag, I would have said yes, as only half the game is really worth experiencing in my opinion. I personally feel that I overpaid for the content provided, but not by much. Wolfenstein gives you something that other games don't, and whether you kill one Nazi or a million of them, it's still a fun formula. Finally, is this prequel story worth experiencing? Not really. If you haven't played The New Order, I would recommend playing that game until this expansion comes down in price. Sure, it leads right into The New Order when the credits roll, but the events in The Old Blood are just another day at the office for BJ Blazkowicz. And even though this game nails the B-movie feel, they also nailed the B-game feel as well. It may be a B, but it's certainly not an A. But keep in mind, these are just my opinions. Feel free to drop the mic in the comments below and tell me your favorite FPS game. Don't forget that every time you hit a subscribe button, Hitler gets a pineapple shoved up his ass in hell. best part of that movie without a doubt. Give me a thumbs up if you like me, give me a thumbs down if you did not, it's okay, I can take the criticism. The only thing I want to say is thank you for spending part of your day with me. I truly appreciate the support, and I'll see you next time on A-OK Playdate.
Okay. Nazis are all dead. You can...
American!
Never mind.